nation. Creepy all behind every door. A cloaked body, don't you know? This is Illuminati. If we put the naughty in Illuminati, we expose the hot bodies of Illuminati. If we put the naughty in Illuminati, mind control of your soul, of that body.
Are you ready to reveal all there is to see? Esoteric secrets revealed in all of their glory. The Illuminati series from Paranoid American. Putting the naughty in Illuminati. More details at paranoidamerican.com.
When the CIA wasn't busy implanting devices in humans, bulls, and donkeys, they also experimented on common house cats. Project Acoustic Kitty was developed in the 1960s with a budget of $20 million, with the aim of implanting microphones and radio transmitters into the heads of felines as surveillance devices. Rumor has it that the project was scrapped after a prototype was run over by a taxi cab. Although, who knows how many surveillance cats are out in the wild right now? How well do you know your cat?
The deep they lurk, like twisted water dogs. In shadows they smirk, down in the rivers, out in the seas. Masters of the deep, dolphin mysteries. Bottlenose freaks, short beaks in the night. Humpback shadows, pygmies out of sight. All the dolphins, you know it's true. Rolling deep in the ocean blue. Stripes and spots, they rule the tide. Water dogs of the deep, they don't hide. In the river's grip, seas endless bounty. Ruling the waves, dolphin Illuminati. Praised by Romans, gods to the Greeks. Underwater rulers, the power peaks. In ocean depths, their counts to 6. Dolphins in the dark, never calling it quits. Striped and spotted in the sea's domain. Aquatic dogs in their own insane lane. Through rivers they ride, seas they roam. In the ocean depths, they make their home.
Well, I talk about insanity, which is what's going on in your mind, and outsanity, which is where you communicate with those outside. As you know, if you give too much of your insanity, they'll lock you up. Well, I tried doing as much as I could. They locked me up. They published it, paid me.
Illuminati, deep, deep, deep in the deep they creep. It's that dolphin. Illuminati, in the rivers and the seas they be a constant mystery. It's that dolphin. Illuminati, it's that dolphin. Illuminati, deep, deep, deep in the deep they creep. It's that dolphin. Illuminati, in the rivers and the seas they be a constant mystery. It's that dolphin. Illuminati, it's that dolphin. Illuminati.
You ever wonder if maybe Kennedy wasn't shot at all? Some theories claim that Kennedy had unprecedented access to the FBI, CIA, and Vatican archives, all thanks to him being the first Catholic president of the United States and all. During a moment of deep contemplation on a Friday afternoon in Dallas, Texas, Kennedy reached total enlightenment, causing his pineal gland to explode. But if you ask this skeptic, it wasn't enlightenment that this president was trying to achieve.
Britney Spears, can we be saved? God, why is Satan controlling the universe?
are good guys. Good guys, good guys. Good guys. Witches, widows, bigamists, entertaining, calming linguists. Good guys. Forum of decorum needs a secretive society to advance on philosophies intentionally, magically good guys. Good guys, good guys. Good guys, witches, weirdos, mischief making. It's okay to change your thinking. Good guys. Good guys, good guys.
Big up yourselves. Welcome to an impromptu Happy Mother's Day episode of the Secret Society of Good Guys. And we told Layla she was going to be off last night. She needed to be off to hang out with her ma. So it's me and Abby. Hi.
Hello. I'm so happy to be here. I'm
I'm
glad we decided to
excited.
do this anyway. I know.
Uh-huh. Why not?
Why not?
You look wonderful.
Well, thank you.
Did
You
your
look
baby did
your
your
hair
baby
is
get
like
you
white.
something?
I love it.
Oh, thanks. It's
My
because I'm an angel.
daughter you are an angel. I can't wait till my hair is white. My daughter made me an elephant picture. It was pretty, so but no, we don't really like make a big deal out of holidays. I just don't care. And I think it's probably because I don't have a mom, so I don't ever like feel like I have to do Mother's Day for other people.
You
So I
know, I wanted to ask you about that. Like, I don't have a dad, so I know how like I feel around Father's Day. Is it like bittersweet something with Mother's Day?
mm, I think
Or you
maybe
don't?
when I was younger, it was really no, I didn't. I just felt like it was something I didn't have to celebrate, so I didn't even think about it. It was my birthday that always bothered me because my mom died the day before my birthday.
Oh
So
gosh.
that was the time that I'd always cry. Like I wouldn't cry all year and then I'd cry on my birthday.
Do you find that other people are kind of annoying then if it doesn't bother you, where they're like, "Happy Mother's Day. Are you gonna do anything for your mom?" And then you're like, "Oh, my mom passed away." And they're like, "Oh I'm so sorry. I'm such an asshole for even."
A little because like I don't know. I hate when people get apologetic because it is what it is. You know, it happened when I was 16, so it's been a long time. And I've lived most of my life without my mom. So it's not, you know, I've healed from it. And
Where
I
you could
know
talk
because
about it.
yeah, well, and also like because I cried for years on my birthday, like I said, but then I finally came to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm allowed to enjoy my birthday. It's okay. Like I can miss my mom and enjoy my birthday. So yeah, even then, so Mother's Day and stuff doesn't bother me. It's when people act all like, oh, I'm so sorry, and it's like it's okay. Like
Can
my
I tell you
my
something that triggers me?
okay.
This is a triggering thing. I don't know when the fuck it happened, but I feel like it's over the last few years that somebody says to you, "Happy Mother's Day," even if you have four-legged children. Barf! Barf! It's not the same. I'm sorry, everyone. It's not the same. It's not the same. No matter how much you love your animal, it's not the same. They need a separate day for like, I take care of my pets day, or I need to be validated by being a pet owner day, or I didn't save them, they saved me day. But
Hallmark, are you listening?
it's not Mother's Day. You, you're not a mom.
No, it's different. But even then, it's like I just am over holidays in general. I used to love them. I used to love Christmas and all that, and now I'm just like, now that I know more about Christmas, like my youngest son, I never taught him about Santa. Like he learned about it at school, but I've never lied to him about it.
I almost ashed in my sound bowl.
Well, why not?
I know. It's like, "Whoom." I'm like, "Oh, shit."
You're blessing it or whatever with the smoke.
Speaking of sound, and we're gonna bounce back to the Mother's Day thing. It dawned on me. I had a like an old crystal glass that would be with a decanter or something, and I pour my cat's water in it because you have to keep cats entertained and drinking water because their kidneys always go bad, and I hit it with, like, a piece of metal to make it go ting, 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 so my cat would run to it, and it sounded significantly different than the other glasses that I put it in, and I was like, "I bet you crystal or certain kinds of things we drink out of when we used to cheers, the glass touching each other resonated the liquid inside harmonically and made it better."
Ooh. Yeah, period, because the whole everything's a frequency or yeah, the magnetism of it all, like,
Yeah, it made me
that
feel
makes
like
a lot
my
of
cat's
sense.
water was better, and then I was thinking, "Oh,
It's
I bet
432
you."
hertz.
Yeah, like, I bet you certain stuff that I mean, I know everybody always says, like, "We should drink out of copper more, we should drink out of bronze more," or, different conductive metals, but I'm like, "What if we drink out of glass shaped like things, and then when it's hit, it kind of radiates frequency into it?" I don't
Even
know.
like, so is crystal actually made out of crystal? Or is it just a really nice
I don't know, is it from Crystal, China?
Is China from China?
I know
Is
that. Yeah, I
bone
think
China made out
so.
of bone?
I feel like China is from China. That's
Okay.
why it was originally called China, I think.
But now
Now that you
anything from
mention it, though,
China
isn't it wild that you'd have your grandparents China? And, like, why do we
yeah.
call the plates China if they weren't from China? And if you were digging to China, there, "Where are you digging to, China?" And your grandparents, you get passed down any nice things, they were like, "That's my grandma's good China." Something's off. Something's so off with our history.
It really is. I have, like, my son's great-grandparents China, and then my mother's China, and it's all in boxes. I'm like, I think when I move, I'm gonna just use those as my regular plates and say, "Fuck it," because why have them in boxes if you're gonna keep it?
Yeah. Otherwise, people should just eat off of it on the norm.
Yeah.
My favorite, and who cares if you break a piece, replace it with another nice piece of china. Everybody is always looking for full sets of things. It drives me crazy. Like, who cares?
I went to a tea party where this lady just collected teacups, and they were all mismatched teacups. She'd buy 'em at like, garage sales and stuff, and it was awesome. Like, everybody just had their own teacup, and it was a little high tea.
When
Not that
is
that's my
a
sorta thing, but it was neat.
I'd be like high tea with a little when is a time that you would be like, I miss my fucking mom? I mean, not just like every time, but like all the time, but in life of
Um,
lately.
like, when I go to take my kids to another kid's birthday party and I see the mom helping, the grandmother helping, like, "Oh, let me help you do this and do that," and I'm like, I've never had a mom to help me plan anything or decorate or,
Your mom never got to meet any of your kids.
yeah, she never met any of my kids.
Oh, that's wild
Yeah.
that you have all these kids and your mom never do any of your kids do anything that you're like, "That is my mom."
Well, the art thing, my daughter making me the picture of the elephant, she's been, in art and doing all these, like, paintings and stuff, and I'm like, my mom was an artist, so which her grandfather my ex-husband's dad was also an artist, so I feel like it's just in her genes, it's gotta be, but definitely that.
Was your mom ahead of her time?
Mm,
Like, what would she be like in the world today?
well, she was stuck in the whole, like, wanting to wear dresses thing, and, she didn't wear a bra, she didn't shave her armpits, that kinda stuff, so I don't
She
know if
was
she's ahead
a
of her
crusty
time.
hippie.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So, like, the woo-woo of the world, though, now and, like, everybody being into, like, crystals or tarot, would your mom be would your mom have her own TikTok?
She might. Because she was into the Urantia book instead of the Holy Bible, so, like, I grew up thinking like, "Oh, the Urantia book is the truth, not the Bible, but don't tell
What's your
anyone."
Rancha book?
It's this big old it's channeled, allegedly by the stars and angels, and Urantia is supposedly the name of this world, but like, the Law of One says that it was actually channeled, about the planet, of Uranus, which would make sense. But it's like the true stories of the Bible, and it was supposedly written by the stars and the angels for God.
Where did it
So
come from? I'm pulling up the wiki too.
some lady channeled the whole thing, and it's wild. I mean, it's very
The
in depth.
fifth is a spiritual, philosophical, and religious book that originated in Chicago, Illinois, originated sometime between 1924 and 1955. So they don't even know who wrote it or just originated.
Well, I think there is a lady's name in it. Like my mom showed me all the names of the stars and the angels in it, but then I feel like I have a copy and I think there is a lady's name in there.
The book and its publisher do not name a human author. Instead, it is written as if it's directly presented by numerous celestial beings appointed to the task of providing an epochal religious revelation. Huh.
And it's not supposed to have a church, none of that. So it is really awesome.
This lady, Lena K. Sadler,
That's probably her.
the physician mother.
But if you actually read it, it's so intelligent. It's like kind of a like it has a big old concordance too, and like just as big as the Urantia book, and it has such big words in it. Like you need the concordance to understand what the fuck it's talking about.
Concordance. Isn't that crazy? Like it would have its own gematria.
Yeah.
It would have its own Bible code, the
Yeah.
Urantria code. I don't even know how
But
to say that word again.
she wrote a will to us, like to her kids, like she wrote a journal as she was dying. And the one thing she said to me specifically was like, Abby, you're into tarot, you're into like Wicca, Buddhism, like, you like studying all these things, and that's really good. That's what you need to do to be on the right spiritual path. So she never told me that, like, she even mentioned the Ouija board, which she should have never let us play with that thing. But her point was, you're not going to find it necessarily in a book. You find your own path by exploring.
Moms. I feel like in a way, Mother's Day, if there's such thing as a Veterans Day, and we pay some kind of homage to veterans or a Memorial Day to dead vets, I feel like Mother's Day should be as valued or more valued than that. Like nobody ever is like, thank you for your service to
I know.
moms. It's like such a thankless job. Even if you do everything right, your kid's trauma probably comes from you.
I know. It does. It does. I freaking traumatized my daughter by yelling at her over a jelly jar. Like, I don't even remember her doing it. Like, but she had freaking trauma over it, like, that she had to work through. Like, it made her kind of OCD.
I always think that's funny. I was talking about it with my coworkers today a little bit, and how the things that haunt you when you bring them up to your parents and you're like, this took me 20 years of courage because I knew I was going to cry when I said it, and whatever thing that you have to get over to tell your parent, 100% of the time your parent does not remember this
I
thing.
know. It's so crazy.
But there's also a thing that a parent has secretly, that they feel like whoever you are as a person, that they told you something once to make you this. So like my mom could have been like, I shouldn't have forced you to wear dresses when you were younger. And I'll be like, what?
She thinks I made you a lesbian.
Yeah. Like she'll have a little like thing that I'm like, oh, I hated that. You should have never forced me to wear any clothes, but it didn't make me gay. Like like the things that she like remembers are things that I'm like, where I think it's funny. Some of my friends who are moms or other moms would always think this was such a weird thing that my mom would always say to us. And she would always say, suck it in. Suck it in. And sometimes when it was cutesy, it wasn't because of this. It was just like a whole saying that went along with it. Suck it in, the boys are looking. And so no matter in life, even in chunky phases, I felt like me and my sister always had flat stomachs because of that sucking it in all the time. And I
You guys
kind
were
of
working
took
your transverse abdominis and didn't
yeah,
even know
like
it.
totally took it for granted. I always had a flat stomach until I had my spleen taken out and was cut down the middle. And then, your abs, I'm sure it's a lot like a lady who has a C-section. Your abs
Yeah.
are cut through. So I haven't taken the time yet to regather those.
Well, because you
But
have to give them a little bit of time to heal before you can, or you can get, like, major ab separation,
oh, I didn't
so
know that. So I
yeah,
did the right thing by being lazy.
you did. It's a good
Mm,
thing.
kudos.
What are you
Kudos.
drinking?
This
LaCroix?
is a LaCroix, but I have to tell you, this is with the coconut in it. So if you get the coconut flavors, I don't know if it's the Florida in me, but this is delicious.
I like coconut. I'm not a fan of, like, LaCroix, though, the whole water thing, carbonated water.
What's wrong with it?
It's just not my
Oh, you just don't like it. I thought you were gonna
yeah.
be like, it will blow your spleen up. I thought you were gonna give me a health
You're
thing
kidding, I drink
about
Diet Coke. I drink Diet Coke.
carbonated water. I'm like, oh no, what's wrong with carbonated water?
No.
But good to know. Good to know. Yeah. What is going on? You just looked. I'm like, what's happening?
I don't know, I
It
was
is
kinda
kind of
glancing at the
crazy.
chat.
Mother's Day. I was thinking about it because I realize I'll get choked up about my dad when there's a father-daughter dance at a wedding.
Yeah, oh, yeah. I I could see that.
Like, that's a time that I'm like, it doesn't happen frequently, but you're at a wedding probably once a year. And anytime I would ever take a job in life, financial, buy a car, I would always call my dad first and talk about like I talk to my dad a lot on the phone. I feel like in my family, he was the only other person in my actual household who kind of understood the way my brain thought. No one else in my family had time.
So
Like
you
this
just
kind
wish
of
you could pick up the
conversation.
phone and call him sometimes
Yeah.
because
I wonder what he would think about this world now
I
because
know.
he was such an old school conservative where he didn't, he didn't trust the government. The less government, the better. Old
Yeah, I would've
school.
liked your dad.
Yeah, he was pretty chill. He was he was pretty chill, kind of funny sometimes. Dry sense of humor, but Miss Patty, I think about it sometimes. Like I was closer to my father, and my brother and sister would probably say I was like daddy's little girl of the three of us. But I feel like the universe gave me a solid by letting me lose my father before my mother. Like having the perspective of the death of my parent, but then also the perspective of like having time to heal stuff with my mom, but also how much more my mom was the steady that kind of never gets credit.
Yeah.
And maybe
That
that's mom's.
it is. I mean, that's what I regret the most is that I never I was at such an awkward stage in my relationship with my mom because 15, 16, you're an asshole, like, and you think you know it all, and, I didn't have time to forgive her for the shit that she had done in my life and vice versa. We didn't have a chance to be friends, because I feel like that's what happens as an adult is that eventually you become friends with your mom, if
Yeah.
you're lucky, and
I think that's the goal.
yeah.
Did you have friends' moms that you loved like you're like
Oh,
that you were
yeah.
like, I love these moms?
Yep, my friend Erica's mom was like a second mom to me, like, she kind of adopted me for a long time. I would go to her house instead of, like, my dad's house and stuff when I would go on leave from the Navy because they just made me feel more welcome, and I have um my first divorce, I won my in-laws in the divorce, so it was great. They're wonderful people, so I would have to always remind myself to call, my ex-husband's mom on Mother's Day because she's like my mom now.
She was like a surrogate.
Yeah.
I think of certain of my friends' moms, like I wish I could shout them out by name because I always knew my mom was going to be a rad mom the older I got. I always knew she was going to be a rad grandma. Like my nieces were going to be lucky that they had my mom around. Like she's, to be a full hang out with her, like, and get to know her as a person in that way that she wasn't an old school kind of mom. She wasn't present in that kind of way but I had friends' moms that I got to see and so they were just so special. Some of them were so old school and some of them were so conservative and some of them were so fun. And I also felt like that kid that you were allowed to do more if I was around. Like your mom would let you go to the concert or stay the night somewhere you wouldn't normally be allowed to stay the night if I was there. But
You're
it
the
was
good
kind of
kid.
funny. I was the good kid, but then also I was like, I was trying to get in your daughter's pants.
That's funny.
I know I was the good kid. They were like, as long as Chaney's there, you can stay the night out of town.
That's funny because I have kids like that with my kids. Like, yeah, you can hang out with that one.
That
It's,
seems good. Like you're like some of them are sketchy little kids.
they are though, or the parents are sketchy, or I don't know. You just know.
Is there ever like when you're raising your kids and then they start to have a life outside of you? Like eventually you're not cool. They want to be up your ass and they want to tell you everything and then you're not cool anymore. Is there like a sadness or a jealousy that comes over with moms
Yeah, for sure.
where you're like that you have to kind of heal from this relationship that they don't know about that you're like they're allowed to do their own thing. I just miss them.
Yeah, well, because it happened kind of crazy for me because like three of my kids were wanting to go to my sister's house all the time, and that's when I felt really rejected. And I was letting them go because it's my sister and family and all of that. And then we had craziness happen there. Like I trusted my sister with my kids and didn't realize what she was allowing them to do. But during that time, I felt so rejected. Like I'm just sitting here alone at night with my youngest and feeling like my kids don't even want to be around me. My sister's so much cooler, and they'd rather be around her. Well, yeah, come to find out, there was a reason why. And
She
luckily,
had less rules.
yeah, no
It's
rules,
always
pretty much.
you know where the kids wanna be where the rules are less,
Yeah,
always.
yeah. But she'd act all super moral in front of me, and then the second I was gone, it was like, oh, they can do whatever they want. Luckily, they told on themselves, so they actually felt bad. So I got my kids back. COVID was like a blessing for me because it was kind of our time to like rebond.
I think in a weird way, they didn't want it to be, but it was a blessing for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like, the powers that be, the evil they did not want it to be, but I think we all I know I'm like, "What are we allowed
Right?
to say?"
I
Uh,
know.
uh, I feel like people kind of got to reset themselves, reset their priorities, reset the things they wanted in life. Maybe like the dead end job, some people they needed to work from their house for a little while to realize how much they hated their job. And then other people needed to have their company creep into their house that they were like, I don't want them here anymore. I think it was a good time. I think we were all supposed to snap under it, but I actually think the other happened.
It
I
did.
think we did snap, but in like a good way.
Yeah, it was like snap back to what really mattered almost.
They tried to get us all to bake bread. Remember those like weird little psyops that they put on where they were like, and all the celebrities are singing in black and white. Like imagine all the people and all the hey, I'm baking bread now. Like it was just like every person was baking bread because they knew they were about to charge $12 for eggs.
Shit. I didn't even notice that. Like, but I was like the media I was taking in was mostly books. So I was
During that
a read
time.
yeah, because I was a reading teacher and I'd always do like a 40 book challenge with my students, like where I'd challenge them to read 40 books a year. And so I had to do it too. So I was like averaging like 2 books a week. So I didn't have time for TV at the time.
Holy hell, that's a lot of books.
Yeah.
That's a
I
lot of words.
It is a lot of words. Audiobooks count though.
Did you tell your kids that?
Yeah, I did. Because it's all because there's different parts of literacy. So part of it is listening to reading because
I
that does
kind
help
of
your
have an
fluency.
issue with this. Yes, because some people will be like, it's not the same if you don't read it. And I'm like, your eyeballs are only one learning style.
Yeah.
Like, I actually think for longer in history, we heard things audio way before
Exactly.
more of us didn't know how to read.
It's still literacy because you still first of all, you're still using your imagination. Nobody's painting the picture for you. You still have to picture it, but you're getting exposed to how many words still. And actually, they're probably being pronounced correctly. So instead of where you're reading it on the page and you don't really know how to pronounce, I mean, how many words do I know that I don't know if I'm actually pronouncing them right because I read them in a book?
Oh my gosh, I can't. There's certain things that if my brain sees it, if my photographic memory sees the word written out, I'll never be able to say it. Like, I have to hear it in
Yeah,
my audio.
yeah.
Like, I have to, because
Like under
especially when it's like Polish last names, there's a lot of UFC fighters, Russian names that if I tried to read it, that's way too many consonants. Like my brain just already broke, but I can say like Jan Jacek without even thinking twice about it. But if
wow.
I showed you Joanna Jacek's name, I almost just want to show you her name so I can show you how it's spelled. But it sounds like, whoa, if you'd be like, Chaney must speak another language. Um, but I've just heard it auditorily. And this would just be one example. But I think um she's probably one of the best female fighters of all time. She's in the UFC Hall of
Oh,
Fame. But
yeah.
look at her last
How would you
name.
ever say that?
Jacek.
Yeah, and that looks like Jed Zedjizik.
Yeah. She even knew it was nonsense, her last name, but when you become, like, good enough at anything, people will know your last name's Nurmagomedov without even having to think twice about it. It doesn't matter. It's almost like if your name's a John Smith, no one remembers John Smith. John Smith's never gonna be the best fighter in the world. Your name has to
No,
be Jan Jacek or
generic
something.
as fuck.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You have to put money in front of the Mayweather.
Exactly.
But anyways, Mother's Day. I also thought it was funny how many dads had the kids today. And I will just say this, running amok, where they were like, yeah, it's Mother's Day, so I have the kids. And I was just looking at the kid thinking, I hope we don't have a lawsuit from your kid running amok. Like, I see a lot of these kids in with mom, and she has one, even if once in a while, like the baby's like, where you get the like loud noise where you're like, oh God, I forgot there was a baby in here. But I saw at least two kids eat shit today because dad wasn't watching them. And I was just like, I'm looking down. I'm just continuing to do my job. I'm not micromanaging. I'm not getting involved. Like, they weren't my patient that I was dealing with, but I was just like, oh my gosh. I seen one lady, she comes in and she has the son on a leash. I was like, why didn't you tell the husband about the leash? Or does he know about the leash, but he was like, I got it. I don't need no stinking leash. And I was like, I wonder if he got back home like, oh, babe, he needs a leash.
And I've always judged people for kids on leashes, but
Oof. Not all kids should be on leashes, but some kids need a leash.
they probably do, though. Yeah, now that I've done daycare, I'm gonna say, yeah. My kids didn't need a leash. Though, okay, I say that, but, like, my oldest son, it didn't matter. You'd always tell him, like, you'd walk into a parking lot and you say, "Don't run." The second he would hit the he would say, "Okay," even. You'd walk out the door to, like, the shopping mall and he'd fricking bolt, and it was like, he didn't normally do stuff like that, but it's just, like, it was autism, though. I didn't know that was, like, an autistic thing.
You're like,
The
oops.
things you learn later.
I know, but I even wonder if every single person on the planet had, like if you had 9 weeks in school and you had to learn a little sign language and some CPR and life-saving skills and like how to change your oil. And then another thing would be 9 weeks of just spectrum learning. All different, whatever they say is on the spectrum, Asperger's, autism, whatever things. And it's just that, because I guarantee you a majority of people would be, if you had 9 weeks of learning that, it wouldn't only teach you about your self-learning, you'd learn how to tell other people things sometimes.
And I really wish that they would make educators do that because I wasn't even a special ed teacher, but I'd end up with the kids who all had IEPs, especially the kids who are on the autism spectrum. They put them in my class because I understood it. Like, even though it looks different, not no one kid on the spectrum looks exactly the same, but I could see their quirks. I could see what motivated them and what didn't motivate them. I could see their like sensory issues, and I was okay with it. I had one little girl who would sit there and make Ouija boards in my class. I had to tell her to stop summoning spirits in my class. But like if she was being good, I'd let her have scissors until she started cutting her hair. But yeah,
That seems like a lot too. Like
it is
have it
because
just
they want kids
does every
mainstream.
single kids though cut their hair? Like every single
No, no, but I'm gonna tell this story. So she started cutting her hair like right here on the top. Well, she would come in and she'd go, Mrs. Johnson, it's opposite day. And I'd be like, no, Sonny. Whoops, I can't say her name. Okay, it's not opposite day. And then she'd say, ugh. She'd go, ugh. And she'd get mad at me. And anyway, I didn't realize what she was doing at first. Well, then another teacher was like, Mr. Johnson, one of your students keeps going into the boys' bathroom. And I was like, what? And it was her. She kept going to the boys' bathroom. So then she'd go into the boys' bathroom, get yelled at by this other teacher every morning. And she'd try to sneak past her. She'd walk by. And they're really obvious when they're trying to be sneaky. Like,
yeah.
it's like, and so she like was creeping by and she walks to the boys' bathroom and then she gets yelled at. And then she come in and she'd be like, it's opposite day. I'm like, no, it's not opposite day. So I think what she was trying to do, because I would give her the scissors after, she would do her work and stuff. And I would let her cut paper. And then she started cutting little pieces off her hair every day. And I didn't notice at first. I noticed after like a few days. And then
Are you
I wouldn't.
saying that she was drinking the water and the water were turning the frogs gay?
I think she was trying to be able to go into the boys' bathroom by giving
You know
herself a
what?
haircut.
And here's the thing too. The wrong parents would be like, "Oh my gosh, she wants to transition." But other
Yeah.
parents would be like, "Dang, this girl wants that dick." That's horrible to say because it's about kids, but
Oh,
we were all there once in school. I never
I
tried to go
always
into the
liked to
boys'
wear.
room.
No, neither did I. But I did like to wear like a hat and tuck my hair up in it and try to like act like a boy.
I never did. I just didn't want to wear dresses. Like my sister was a cheerleader and she was very feminine and beautiful and all the things. And I just didn't want to have to dress like her. I didn't want to at all. I didn't want to wear her clothes. And my mom was always like, I mean, frilly for frilly, lace for lace, pink for pink. My mom would dress me. So most of the girls my age, they would have like like some slutty outfit on and some makeup in their bag under their clothes. I would have like a t-shirt and surf shorts. I
Like
just was like, yeah, I
I'm
feel like I
sneaking.
was maybe like in the ninth grade, maybe when my mom finally let my dad take me clothes shopping for the first time before school started. And he just sat in the middle of the mall and was like, tell me when you're done. He didn't give a shit. He didn't wanna look at any of it. He didn't care about any of it. He was like, "Wear what you want. I do not." He had no cares. And then he just walked up and paid for my school clothes at the end.
Oh,
My mom had
nice.
input on everything. You had to try on every item. You had to, it was a whole to do. I didn't want it. My dad finally understood.
That's awesome. I never we were like I was one of 7 children, so school clothes
Primitive.
shopping was not really a huge thing. It was what my parents could afford.
Yeah, it got bigger over my life. My parents, we were poor growing up, but then my dad got a propane company. He just got a propane company. No, he bought a propane company, but then propane at one time was considered like solar panels. If you were trying to sell it to people, they were like, "What? This green energy?" And it really just because you could hook it up in a car and your car would run twice the distance. You could have a heated pool in Florida, have your grill, your hot tub, whatever, gas stove, all of it. It was all perfect on the propane. So it took a while, but then when it boomed, my parents were kind of newly rich. So they newly rich people don't save their money and build nest egg. That's not what they do. They're
It
like,
reminds me
go
of
clothes
like
shopping.
Ink Hill
It
propane.
I yeah, propane. So, yeah, I got to I always think it's interesting because my brother and sister are on both sides of it, but I was like right in the center of them to see my parents go through this like, oh, and now we're in the islands all the time. And now, so then me and my brother are always at the house alone. It was just my parents were out of the country and me and my brother would have like sometimes a nanny that like was around sometimes, but sometimes they would just be like, here's a few $100, get your brother to school, and then they'd be gone. And then it would just be like weeks at a time. I was like 15. I think I was 15 when my parents, if anything happened to them, my brother was mine. Like we were both like
Like emancipated,
I
practically?
was emancipated and he was mine.
Oh, shit. That's wild.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy that maybe that's why I don't have kids.
You already had a kid.
I know. I always felt like sometimes too. I'm like, oh, you guys are messing up. Like I'm trying to do a good job here raising him, and you guys are fucking it up.
I
Like I was
bet,
kind of
though.
strict with my brother. I didn't let him do all the thing. Like my parents didn't know what he was up to, and I was kind of strict with him. So like he was bad.
And you
He
knew what was going on
Yeah, and so I
more
didn't want him
than
to
what a
party
parent
with
would.
older kids and do drugs with older kids. That he didn't need to do that. So I knew what he was up to. But my parents, once they were back in the country, I had no control. But every time they were out of the country, I had complete control. So
Oh my god, that would suck. It's like undermining your parenting.
it kind of was. But what do you know? You're just a kid.
Yeah.
So I was just like, and it was kind of weird too, having we had our own rules and then they would be back in town and it was just kind of like roommates that were strict, because they were just in our house. And so now we had these rules that it was like LARPing these rules while they were in the country, which they weren't like the more money they got, the less they were there. So it was weird to have them there.
That's so wild that they would just leave you guys.
I know, I think it was just I know I wanna be like, it was a different time, but it was.
Kinda was.
We were self-sufficient. We were latchkey kids from, like I mean, I don't think my mom was home with us from the time I was, like, 10.
It's like the whole Beverly Hills 90210 where, like, the only family that had the parents there all the time were the Walshes, who weren't from Beverly Hills.
Yeah, I mean, my mom worked my whole life. When I was young, when they were poor, I remember my mom watching kids. But my mom couldn't handle me. So she watched 3 other people's children just send me to like daycare.
Whoa. I
She
would've
was
thought you'd
like,
been helpful.
no, she was like, you were too much for me. It was easier for me to watch other people's kids than have
Oh
you in
my
the
gosh.
house. Like my mom was like, I couldn't turn around for like a half hour. You'd be on the roof. And
I
that was
do
real
believe
life.
that.
Like I was like
Yeah.
4 or 5 and my mom would be like trying to like get other kids down and she'd hear thum, 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 thum. She'd be like, what the fuck? Like I didn't know that parents could hear inside of something. Like now if a squirrel's on my roof, I'm like, oh, the squirrel just ran across the roof. I had no idea how loud something on the roof was to the inside. So I just like got up there every day. I jumped into my pool from there. I was like, the first time I ever went up there, it was like a toy box that had been unopened for 20 years. Do you know how many toys end up on the roof?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I
And so I would
do.
just like the second I couldn't wait when my mom said she was going to cook dinner or had to put the kids down or like take a shower, I could get on the roof. And so it was like I would climb on the fence to the grill and get on the roof. I tried jumping off the roof with an umbrella. I tried jumping here's one of the dumbest things I ever did.
I would've tried that too.
Here's one of the dumbest things I ever did right here. I was probably like 7 and I put a trash bag around myself and
Are you in a parachute?
I thought if I jumped into the pool with a trash bag and held it tight at the top that I would just
You haven't even
hit
told
it.
the story yet, sorry.
But you can picture what my head thought. Like I thought I was just gonna hit it and bounce like the air. But what really happened was I jumped into this pool and that thing suctioned around
You
me
almost drowned?
and I had to rip open
That's so scary. Oh my god.
Like the shit. One time my brother and sister locked me and we had this elephant toy box. And I don't know why toy boxes were made that when you put the lid on them and twisted, they locked, but it was all plastic, the whole entire toy box. So we were like, and I was always of the siblings, I was the one that I was like, I'll do it. And so they were like, you should get in the toy box and then we'll put the toy box in the pool. And I'm like, fantastic, let's do it. There was a hole in the bottom of the toy box, like this big. So the toy box started filling up with water, but we couldn't figure out how to get the lid off. But once the toy box was heavy, it was just the amount of times I almost drowned.
I
That
know.
is my near death experience. So many. I was the kid that got suctioned to the bottom of the hot tub. You know where the
Oh my god, no way.
I was that kid. It
So you've
sucked
died
into
a
my
few
stomach.
times. You've
I
died a
got
few times in the
scars. I got
water.
a huge hickey on my stomach. My
Oh my
parents
gosh,
should have
that's
taken me to the
traumatizing.
hospital. I should have sued that guy.
No shit.
You know how much
That's
Bitcoin
insane.
I should have right now?
Well, the
Just
market's down,
kidding.
so who knows?
Yeah, just kidding. It wouldn't be Bitcoin. Yeah, so that's some stupid Chaney shit.
Oh my
Traumatic brain
god.
injury.
I feel like my kids traumatized me like that though. Like I was a stay-at-home mom with 4 little kids, and they were all 2 years or less apart. And it's like, I mean, just little shit. Sometimes where they probably could have killed themselves, but gosh, just turning around. Like I felt like I could never. I don't know how women can keep their house perfectly clean. I was home 24 hours a day, and with that amount of little kids, I would go make them something to
My
eat, and then
sister's
I'd
this
turn around
woman.
and yeah, I don't know how they do it.
I don't know how she
I would
does
have a
my sister's
mural all
house.
over my walls, and I would be, like, crying, and then I would go and mop the floor, and then I would turn around, and then somebody would grab a whole thing of juice and spill it all over the floor, and it's like my house was child-proofed. I trust me, but it didn't matter. They
I
can get
went
into
over to
shit.
her house last night. Let's say it's 8 p.m. And I knocked on my sister's door, and she has like, her glass screen door, so it's all open. You can see all the way into her house. And her perfect dog jumps to the door, her perfect labradoodle, whatever, and jumps to the door and is all like friendly. And then she's like, sit down, and it sits. And she has on matching she called jammies. That's what her and her girls all call PJs. Like she has on matching jammies that they all have on matching jammies. Like I think inside her house, it's like 5 females in her. And they're not all always there. Her 2 older daughters have their own houses and whatever. But it's just like everything's in its place. It always smells like fresh laundry in there. Like she's like, don't open my cabinets. That's where she'll tell you she falls short, where it's like lids and Tupperware and things. But her house looks like a model home.
Good for her. That's
It's
hard to do.
wild. It's wild.
I feel like my
But
kids were a bunch of heathens, so there's no way it was ever gonna happen.
they're all these girly girls though. Like each their personalities is that of like, get out of my room. You're a disgusting slob. Like and they cut each other, like hearing them, they're like best friends, worst enemies. Cause there's 5 girls. I don't know. Where they're like, you're being mean to mom.
But my girls were like terrible, terrible. Like they talk about terrible twos. They started before too. Like my son would go in and use the bathroom, and the rule is to shut the bathroom door when you came out because my 2-year-old would go in there and get into stuff, right? And he didn't shut the bathroom door. She goes in there and she grabs the shampoo bottle that I just bought. She freaking dumps the whole thing. I'm in the kitchen trying to like wash the dishes. I turn around and she's got the entire shampoo bottle and it's on the coffee table, and it's really cool looking. It's like just moving all the way
Pearly.
across the top and freaking pooling on the carpet, like just on both sides. It was like
How do you
so
even begin to get out
and I had
shampoo?
just bought it. Okay. So it's brand new full bottle, which is no longer full. It's trash now. So I'm so upset trying to clean shampoo out of the carpet. Yeah. And
And you're
then
like, we don't have that extra money for the shampoo bottle that you
exactly.
just
And then I go in and I try to resume doing dishes a little while later. And the same thing happens. My son goes in, uses the bathroom, leaves the bathroom door open. She goes in, she grabs the entire bottle of conditioner. Did the same exact thing. Like, that was my life.
Just constant. Just
Yeah, I
constant.
could never catch up. Yeah, I could never stay caught up.
What is, if you feel like saying it, did you ever feel like you did something like dumb as a parent? I mean, I'm sure there's tons of dumb moments, but something that you're like, oh shit. Like like something where you're just like, that was ridiculous, or I almost killed my kid, or I had to lift a car off my kid. You know those stories where like moms are like, I ran across water and had to tear my child out of a gator's mouth. Like, parents have weird stories. Like, the car was in reverse, sliding down a snowbank, and it ran over me, but I pushed my kid out of the way.
I can't think of anything like that off the top of my head, but I have stories where I yelled at my daughter and I couldn't find her anywhere. So I ended up calling 911 because I thought she was missing, like missing, because I couldn't find her for it was a while. The police come to my house and everything, and then we find her under my bed. She was like hiding because I had yelled at her. Like, she wasn't coming out. So I have stories like that.
You called the police.
I thought someone kidnapped my kid. I thought she was like missing.
That's where I kind of feel like there's certain parts of like, sometimes I like smoking sativas and I like the little edge I get, the slight paranoia. But I feel like if I had kids in my life, I'd never be able to sleep again. Like, I already have insomnia. Like, I already have these things like an overactive brain. I feel like, and I feel like my love capacity, I don't know if I could love that much. Like, I feel like something about it breaks my heart even thinking about loving something that much. I
Well,
know it seems wild.
it's so I guess that's the weird thing that happened is that I didn't realize how much I could love until the minute my first child was born. Like not even pregnancy, none of that. It was like right after I saw him, I was like, "Oh shit, this is what love is." It it is a whole other level. Like
Is like each kid, because parents are like, I love you all the same. That's not true.
no, I mean, because they're all different. I don't have a
I just
preference.
put you on the spot.
Well, I can say right now,
That's not true,
so
is it?
my middle son is graduating right now, right? Like he graduates next Sunday, and I'm like, I'm gonna be the most sad over him graduating, and I know that sounds weird because I was sad when my other two graduated, but for whatever reason, I think because he was such a little shit when he was little, I remember him being little and being a baby so much more than the others, and he was just so funny always. So like, him growing up, I think, is, like, the hardest, and it's not that he's my favorite, it's just I don't know, it's just different, it's hard to explain, so I wouldn't say I have a favorite, because each one is my favorite at a certain time, like
Or like they know a different part of you.
yeah. Oh, yeah,
It's
because
like a
I'm a
bunch
different
of
mom
different
to all
best
of them.
friends.
Yeah. Yep.
That's kind of cool. They have these little ride or dies. It sucks though if one of your kids would be an asshole, where you're like, oh, one of my kids is an asshole.
Oh, my daughters are bitches, but I freaking love it. I'm like, "God, I wish I was more bitchy like you. I think you're awesome."
That's awesome then. If you're
Like,
like,
okay,
and that
but my oldest
you're
daughter
friends
is
with all of
annoying.
them.
She's the one who's like she's like, in another life, I was the mom." She tells me that all the time.
That's what I feel like with my mom.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like now we both accept the role. We both
Y
accept it. And she doesn't tell me, like, my brother and sister know the wilds of my mom that she never tells me. Like, when they tell me, like, did mom tell you she got drunk last night and whatever the story? I'm like, no, I never hear any of the
You don't get the good stories.
no, I'm like but some of my friends will be like, doesn't it bother you that you're the last to know? They'll tell, and I'm like, no, because everyone tells me they tell dad last when they're like, okay, we tried all these ways to get out of it and we can't, we need your help.
We need your
Or
help. Yeah.
morally, I just feel like I have to tell you for some reason. Like, eventually I always know that it's okay. They can tell me when it's time. But they're like, they know they were fucking up and they're ready to face the fuck up. And so that's when they'll tell me, because I can't hide it on my face. I'm like it just But I sincerely like, I see, and I know all good friends are supposed to be this way, but not everybody's a good friend. I am not a good mom. Don't have children. I am a great friend, and not everybody is a great friend, but I feel like sometimes my steadfastness is a lesson that I realize there's a lot of people in the world, and it used to trigger me when they were like, "Trust no one." And I'd be like, "But you could trust me." And they're like, "I don't trust anyone. I don't trust anyone. I don't trust anyone." And I realized, oh, it hurt my feelings. Like, but you could trust me. Oh, that person's not trustworthy. And so when you don't think you can trust anyone, it's because no one can really trust you. And you're always going to fall short, and you're always going to tell the secret, and you're never going to show up when someone needs you. I'm always going to do that. But it took me a while to realize that, like, I'm a ride or die. I'm like a ride or die friend. I'm a ride or die, that I have your back even when you don't have your own back. And sometimes people fuck up and they know they're fucking up, whether it's with a dude or with a job or with a, hey, I have this money making idea. And I'm like, oh, this is never gonna, I'm the friend that will tell you, you're getting scammed. Like, I know you're all excited about this, and everybody else is like, she seems excited, we shouldn't burst her bubble, she's gonna get taken. I'm the friend. I will, like, I'm sorry, I know you're in fairy tale right now, but I always have your side, even when you don't have your side. And sometimes that means I'm lonely because everybody else is faking having the person's side about the wrong thing. And here I am over here, but no one realizes no, I'm team them. But it doesn't look like I'm team them right now because I'm not walking off the fucking cliff with them. I think that person's not good enough for them. I think that job's a shithole. I think they're fucking up doing drugs or not, or doing this or not taking care of their responsibilities somewhere. I'm always going to be the friend that sees your best potential and tell you if you're fucking up, even if I stand alone.
I love that about you. Just
Thanks.
saying, because you've been there for me and helped me, through to see, you've seen the best in me when I wasn't, just like you said. So
But you're rad. It's easy to see. And this is the other thing too. I feel like sometimes people fuck up so much in their own little bank, they just are like, fuck it, I'll continue to fuck up. But I am always like, no, you're a fucking queen. You're a fucking warrior. You're a fucking whatever it is. Cause I do it for my dudes too. Like, I want to big up them. I want them to feel masculine. I want them to feel like they're a swinging dick in the room. Whatever I have to do to make them feel that way, I want them to feel that way. But not everybody deserves the big up. Sometimes I see the real person and it's like, longevity doesn't make a friend. Facebook follow doesn't make a friend.
it does
Like,
not.
no, I have a very good, they say if you add up all your friends, my dad always told me this. If you added up all your friends, their pluses and minuses, their good and their bad, you are the equation of them. You equal them. So I don't want anyone bringing down my average. And I feel like I have some bomb ass fucking friends, and some people out there aren't worth it. Like, some people are not worth being in my
They're
stable of
not.
friends. They're not going to show up, and they show it over and over again in their actions. And I hear they show who they are as a person over and over again in their actions. It's like I compare them to one of the accounts on like X that has just a big Q and a countdown timer, or just John McAfee account with a countdown timer, or anything with a countdown timer. It's this equivalent of those kind of friends. Like, they're there for the fucking picture. They're there right when you give birth, and then you never see them again. They're there at your wedding, causing havoc on your dance floor. Then you never see them again. They're like there for the picture and liking up all your stuff, have stuff to say.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. That's why I don't know. I feel like that was the other good thing about COVID. It like kind of put me into this whole world where I've met some genuine people.
Yeah, it did. I think that too. It kind of hurt more though when you, or at least myself, because of my own journey and putting it out there like this, and the people I became friends with, because I was so raw and authentic and real about what I was going through, I assumed the people I was meeting were just as real and authentic as I was about what they were going through. And that wasn't the case. It took me, my tools of discernment had to readjust for online. Like, I
Yeah.
needed digital tools of discernment. And that is something that I think everybody needs to practice. It's like everybody might have their tools of discernment and they're like, no, I really feel this in my soul. This is a good person. You can't feel their Taurus field. You can't smell them. You can't see them for real. Like the amount of things that people just like give up to the like, oh, I know them. I've listened to them in Twitter spaces 10 times. You don't know them. You don't know nothing about them. Like, there's so many people that you don't even know their real name. You haven't even seen a real picture of them ever. You might have seen a picture of them 20 years ago with 4 filters on it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And that's what tripped me out about my short stint back on Facebook before I deleted my account. Like, every picture now has a filter on it. It's wild. Like, everyone looks so
I wish
beautiful.
I could get a fucking filter on this thing.
I
I look at
I
myself, I'm
know.
like,
That's why,
I'm like,
like, the nights I do
jeez.
go on with Bootsy, I don't feel so bad because I like, that one does have a filter. It's like, I'm like, "Oh,
That
I
was
don't
the
have
one
to."
we tried. Was it StreamYard?
Yeah, StreamYard.
But for some reason, every time I went to click mine, we were already filming, and I'd be like, "Wow, you look amazing," and you and Layla would be like, "Well, I turned on the filter," and I'm like, "There's a filter," and when I went to try to click it on because maybe it was on my computer, it always gave me an error message, and then I would sometimes fuck with it while we were recording. But then, if you look back at those shows, I'll be like, "How do I get this on?" Not
I
that it
do before
matters.
we stream when I'm setting up the background and stuff.
Oh my gosh, I wouldn't even know how to digitally date.
Oh my gosh, me either. I don't ever wanna know, ever.
Here's what else I think too. If I met you digitally, then anytime you're playing on your phone and I'm like, "What are you doing over there?" Does it become a whole insecurity that I never had before?
Probably, yeah. I would think so. So weird.
Like, are you like, okay, let's say we meet on a dating app and then how long do we hang out and then we're like, are we both going to delete our app at the same time? Like, is that the new form of exclusive?
I know. And then how can you be sure they really deleted their account if you delete
Unless
your account?
you have to search for them. Then you have to send your friends on. And I don't know if you know this, but then there's this whole other thing going on where it's like, are we dating the same guy or girl?
Oh, yeah, people are like, my friend was showing me that, like, on Facebook or whatever.
So pretty
There's
much
groups like
every
that.
city that you live in, and I'm not on the book, but apparently Facebook is the biggest one for this, but there's all different kind of things. I'm surprised somebody hasn't jumped on this yet and actually made a legitimate website because it would be $1 million website. Um, but it's, are
Are
we
you guys
dating the same
listening?
guy or girl? And whoever does this, I'm going to tell you exactly how to break it down. You should look at Craigslist and do it in the exact same format. If you are a software developer, do it in the exact same format as that. If you ever make money off this, maybe and you're sitting on your yacht one day, you're like, hey, I'm going to give the Secret Society of Good Guys a $200,000 super chat. But for
Period.
real, it should just be set up like Craigslist so you can pick whatever your city is. And then people are putting in like pictures of these people. And then other people are like, yeah, I've dated them. And this person's X, Y, and Z, or this person's really awesome, or this person's exactly who you say they are, or this person's my husband, or this person's my wife, or this person's dating so and so too, or this person, be careful because they have an arrest record, and they'll put it all up. So it's actually kind of crazy how, and then you'll be on it, and let's say you're scrolling, and then you're like, oh my gosh, you see 3 of your guy friends, like you see a picture of me on there. What? Chaney's doing dirty. You're calling Jules, Chaney's on Are We Dating the Same Girl? Like, that's all the shit that's going on.
That's
I'm
so
like,
wild.
oof. Yeah, who could
Dating in
even,
this today's day and age would be,
you just have to be so secure about yourself
yeah.
that if you want to cheat on me, go cheat. Like, if that's it, do you, boo boo. But if that is something that you're like, I don't know. It just seems like it'd be harder to think you have, like, let's see what timeline we're on. Just the first timeline, just a single sneeze. That's what I always do with my Maria when she has
I
a
don't
sneezing
always get
fit.
lucky. I don't get lucky and get 2 very often.
I see how many times she sneezes, and then I'm like, oh, we're on the 5th timeline.
Oh my
Because I'll just
gosh.
stop talking. You know, you'll start sneezing. And someone will just keep running their fucking mouth. You're fucking in sneeze. You're like, bitch, I couldn't even drive the car right now if I had that many sneezes. Stop talking. Stop. Just give me a fucking second. Let me have my sneeze in peace. This is like my little mini orgasm that I get. Shut
And
up.
I only get one, damn it. You and your multiples.
Yeah, shut the fuck
Bitch.
up. I'm yeah. You and your multiple sneezes. Oh my gosh, but if you do sneeze and don't have tissue around, the worst.
I know. I do have
The
tissue, but
worst. Oh, can I get another funny thing just randomly? People get Mother's Day and Father's Day, the worst gifts ever. I think back sometimes to some of the things I got my mom as gifts, and it really makes me laugh out loud. Like it made the poor trash this poor woman got that like one time a seagull pooped on her at the beach. So I bought my mom a shirt that said damn seagull with bird poop on it. And then I asked her legitimately why she never wore it. Like people they like spend money on gold. Like a dad's gonna go out and he's like, let's get your mom a necklace. And it's like #1 mom with a cupid. She's like, I don't want that shit.
cute. I'll hang it up somewhere.
Yeah, it's like weird shit that kids get. One time I got my mom an address book, but it was like this big. Like it was like who knows? Maybe I spent like who knows how much money a kid's like, I'm gonna save. Oh, my mom needs this address book. And it was like so cheap. Like it had a lock, like my mom needed the locking address book at all. Like anything about it. But I always think back to this like how I was like, oh, I can't wait to give this.
That's
Who knows
I
where I
remember my
bought it.
kid buying me like this big old red, fake ruby ring that, is adjustable and stuff. And she's like so upset. It was huge. Like so upset I never wore it. I was like, here, you can wear it.
I know. I just looked over at the chat and somebody said, why am I subbed here? I can't learn anything about esoteric and conspiracy here. But how am I ever going to find out 9/11's an inside job here? Oh no, are aliens real or flat earth here? Why am I even here? Oh my God.
What is the meaning of life?
Yeah. How am I ever going to find it here? They're not transurfing. There's no alchemy going on here. How did I end up here?
Fuck okay, that was my night last night. I was sleeping and I've had like false awakening dreams where you think you're awake, and I've gone to like halfway to work before I realized I was still sleeping. And usually when I
I'm
have false
out.
awakening,
He wrote, I'm out. Peace. Like he wrote,
oh,
he had to let everyone know he was here. What is this? How am I subbed here? Oh, you guys are talking. I'm out. Peace. I even think it's funny when people say peace or put up a peace sign as an out thing.
especially when they don't mean
Peace.
peace.
Yeah, you don't mean peace at all. Say it like you mean it. I hope when I leave, everything about this channel melts.
Fuck
Peace.
you. That would be good too.
Oh, sorry, I didn't pay attention over there at all night to all you amazing people that were chatting. And I just happened to look out of my corner, probably because it was a name I didn't notice.
Yeah.
I was like, who dat? Who dat? Don't come in here and raid on my Mother's Day parade.
Seriously.
Peace.
It's girls talk.
I know. But here is one thing moms would do that would be shitty. Circumcise their sons. That would be a real shitty thing.
I didn't do that.
That's horrible. The more I think about it, it's just horrible. I wonder, one of my friends who's she's just a great mom, and probably no one tells people they're just a great mom. I always try to acknowledge when parenting happen. Like I'll be chatting with you on the phone and then you'll stop, like, your son will ask you something, you'll be like, okay, I'll be in a second. Da, 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 da. Whatever parent tone and parent things that parents never give themselves credit for. I've been on the phone with one of my homegirls, and one of her sons was in the background, and she's like, okay, do you remember how I taught you? Do you need me to come down and show you again, or you really have it? You have it? All right. I'm proud of you. You're doing your own laundry. And then she just went back to talking to me. And I was just like, that's so cool. And she's like, what? And I'm like, that you're teaching your son how to do laundry. Like, I just think it's cool. Like, that you're just patient with him and calm, and you offered the help but didn't like hover over him. Like, I was just acknowledging that how well I would learn if somebody would have taken that time to like, it's just cool. I don't know, but you don't know how to tell someone they're like, that's a cool mom thing you're doing. Because I don't have kids. So it's just like,
No, that
I
is a good
recognize
compliment
that
though.
that's cool.
Especially because I feel like I've judged myself for not doing all the things for my kids, like doing their laundry or, even cooking all their meals and stuff. But that kind of was my own trauma though, because with my mom dying, I realized if I ever died, I wanted my kids to know how to take care of themselves. Like I wanted to know that they would be okay. So 7th birthday, that's when my mom taught me to cook. So all my kids on their 7th birthday, I came home and taught them how to cook a grilled cheese. And from there, they would help with dinner and stuff. And I tried to make them independent and do those things. So then I see these other moms who like, oh, I wash my kid's sheet and he's a senior in high school, sheets every week, and I do this and that for him. I'm like, and I want to judge myself because I'm like, I don't do that stuff for my kids. But then again, it's like, but I gave my kids a better gift. Like I taught them to be independent.
I
So
think that's another thing that every single kid, once they sit down with their parent and they have that powwow, that's like the regulator going into adulthood. And the kid, if you're with siblings, you'll be like, why didn't you ever give me as much as you gave whoever your other siblings are? And 100% of the time, the mom will usually say, I was fucking worried about them. I was never worried about you. Like the
yeah,
kid
you
that
had it.
needs the less help, the mom doesn't realize that that kid needs them too. That kid, that
Yeah.
mom needs the kid needs the acknowledgement just as much as the kid that needs the tit in its mouth all the way until it's 20. And I just feel like that would be a thing I would tell moms besides not just vaccinating is I would be like, hey, the kid that doesn't need the help all the time, acknowledge how rad they're doing. Like, because one of your kids gets more of your money, one of your kids get more of your time, one of your kids gets more of your like, you're constantly worried about them. And even when you're talking to the other kid, it's about the worry of that kid and the money of that kid and the stress of that kid. That the one kid who's doing whatever the right is by you or that whatever the good thing, you're never acknowledging it. It's just an expected thing. But the kid is still doing part of it for your acknowledgement. Because a lot of the
Yeah.
times, even the like, I'm going to get my 4-year degree and I know that I want to be a biochemist and I'm 14 years old. And when I'm 19, I'm going to be my boyfriend in college. And when I'm 24, I'm going to have kids. And this could be for dudes too. I better have this certain job. I better have enough for this. And da, da, da. And they have all these things set up. But a lot of that is because their parents told them to have those things and they don't want those things and they're going to be trapped in something that whether it's $120,000 debt to a college because why are you still pushing college on your kids? Everyone in America, why push a trade on your kids? If you're going
Thank
to
you.
push anything, a trade, something that's an actual thing they can do with their hands that even if there's no electricity tomorrow, they can still do that thing. Like
And
I
they
just
don't go into debt to do the training for it. That's I mean,
insane.
yeah.
It's insane. But there's still those kind of where this is another thing too, parents. If your kid dated somebody, this is where you're like, I won the parents in the divorce, but you have kids with your ex, which is a whole
Mhm.
different ball game. If you're a good parent, take your kids' fucking side, even if they're wrong. Like, be on their side. The amount of times that where someone's like, it's just someone your kid dated in fucking high school and you still follow that bitch on some social media account. What are you doing? Why are you friends? Why do you feel the need as a parent to be friends with somebody your kid dated? It's weird. And what are you doing? What kind of competition thing are you in? What kind of like let it go unless there is grandchildren involved, let it go. It's not fair to your child. Like, it's not
It's
fair at
not.
all. I don't
No.
care if they were married for 10 years. He was like another son to me, but that's your real fucking daughter. Let it go. Like, it's just take your kid's side. Even if they're wrong, take their side. They need it. There's some things I don't know if parents forget once they have kids, what it was like to be a kid.
Do you feel like it's the same with a sibling, though? Like, you have to take your sibling's side if you feel like they were totally fucked up and you don't even like them?
Well, I think you can tell your kid they're wrong, and you can tell your
Yeah.
sibling they're wrong, and you can tell, and you if you cut your sibling off for whatever reason, let's say you're like, I'm not having, or your parent off for whatever reason, then the relationships you build outside of that, okay, but why would you still need to be friends with one of their exes? If they were a shithead person, one of their exes is probably in love with a shithead. So you needing to carry on with them is some kind of weird connection that you're needing to keep with that trauma. That it's like, what are you doing? Like, you don't ever have to just say someone's right when they're wrong, but you also don't need to be friends or carry on a relationship with somebody that, like, I've told someone this before. I was dear friends with a girl and she started dating my brother. And I told her at the beginning of it, I hope nothing goes awry with this. She's like, what? Because we weren't be able to be friends anymore because that's my fucking brother. And I don't like drama and I don't like trauma and I don't like any of this. And he's always going to be my brother. So even if he fucks you over some weird way or cheats on you or whatever, he's still going to be my brother. And when the long circle runs out of this whole thing, I don't give a fuck if I never talk to you again in the grand scheme. But he's still going to be my bro. And they ended up breaking up. And I remember the last conversation when it was getting all traumatic and they did, and where I was like, oh, we're not going to be able to talk anymore on the phone. Like, I felt like you're venting about my brother to me in a way that you need to vent to a different friend.
Well,
Like,
see,
you've
I
mixed
felt
this.
I've felt that way. Like, I feel that way about my brother, especially. But like my sister, who I don't like her. I don't talk to her, and I will never talk to her again. But at one point, I was a nanny to their daughter. Like, so my niece, I was her nanny. I took care of her. Like, that was my full time job. And so I did feel kind of bonded to her ex-husband, and I actually liked him. I judged him. I told him I judged him for staying married to my sister for so long. Like, because I felt like that was the wrong thing to do for their kids. Period. But anyway,
I have a different relationship with my sister's baby daddy, her husband that she was with a long time. He gets different kind of carte blanche than any other man that she might ever be with because that is still my niece's father.
yeah,
So
exactly.
he is always going to
The
get,
children are the ties.
yes. So
Okay.
he is always going to get something different from me, even though I'm like this at him. Around them, he's always going to get a little bit of different respect from me because I
Yeah.
love them so much. I'm going to respect their dad for them. But around just me and my sister and him, I'm like,
You motherfucker.
yeah, he knows. And
Yeah.
that's why he'll try to do extra when the girls are around to
Oh,
try to
I
be like,
bet.
ooh, and I'm like, ooh, you make me LARP into this so hard. But he gets a different kind of, and overall, he wasn't a great husband all the time, but he was a good dad. And so
Yeah.
it's something that I can hang on to for him that you and my sister weren't good together. Like, I hope you find good later on. I hope she finds good, whatever, but you guys weren't good, but you were a good dad. I could acknowledge that. Like, and maybe not the best dad in the whole world, but you were better than any, like my dad was. Like, you were hands on, you were like there, like, so kudos, big up you. Big up, good dads.
Absolutely.
I mean, because it shouldn't be the two, because so many of us could fall short of being a good spouse, but still be a great parent.
Yeah,
They
I
shouldn't
think
be tied so much.
I would never call myself a great parent. I think I'm like, I'm all right.
I think you're a great parent.
Well, thank
Your
you.
kids seem like they genuinely like you,
I They actually genuinely do, I think. Like, I think we'll all always have a relationship, which is good.
and they all seem cool.
They
Like
are.
you would hang out with all of them as people.
Oh, yeah. They're fun.
I always get it. It's kind of crazy. Like, I don't feel like I all the way know you until I meet your kids.
Yep, I know, huh?
But I'm also the kind of person that I tell my friends this too, especially any of my single friends, guys or girls, and you can replace penis or vagina, but I tell them, not every person you date needs to meet your genitals, and they definitely don't need to meet your fucking children. It is
True.
so weird and so traumatizing, and no offense to your judgment, but it's a numbers game, and you're going to bring somebody around that harms one of them kids. And so not everyone needs to meet them just because your genitals meet them still doesn't mean your kids need to. Like,
Yeah.
take some fucking time. Like, I think it's so weird. Like, as much as like you might feel like you don't really know me until you meet my kids. Look at, I haven't met Abby's kids yet. I can't wait to meet her kids. It's fine if they meet me. We're not dating, but I think it would be weird even if, oh my God, I just met you online. Come meet my kids.
That would be really weird.
Yeah. Some people are so like free for all with their kids. I would be so like, I would
Though
never
I
have a picture of my. I like when I have guy friends that'll put up pictures of them with their kids, and they'll put emojis over their kids' faces. I like that.
I did take my daughter though when I met Lehman online because or in person because I needed to be able to go meet somebody that was, I was a woman, a married woman, and I needed it to be very crystal clear that it was just a friend thing.
Fair
So,
enough.
yeah.
I get to meet a lot of my guy friends in person and never even think about that.
Yeah. Well, exactly, but it's not like that when you're married.
Fair enough. And my wife
Out
doesn't
of
even
respect
think
for
twice.
my husband and his wife, it's just like, okay, I'm bringing my
hmm
child, so it's not weird.
I totally get it. I always have to remember sometimes when I'm like, hey, I'm going to go stay in a house with hot ladies, that it's just like it takes her a second to swallow it and swallow it down. Like, I have to remember because I could say the same thing. Hey, I'm going to go stay in a haunted house with Thomas and Juan. She'd be like, for a week, have fun.
Yeah, that's nothing.
She'd be
Exactly.
like, I don't want to go. I'm like, me and E are going to go to Miami, stay the night, get $400 fight tickets, go to a fancy restaurant. I'm doing all this with my guy friend. She's like, are you staying in the same room? Okay. Like, she doesn't even, but with ladies, it makes her like,
Yeah, that's totally
who,
different.
especially, I don't know. I haven't met them yet. So it was
Yeah.
really awesome that you and Layla came back to my house.
Oh, I'm glad I did. I love Jules, so
hmm
glad I got to meet her.
She's gotten to meet my Maria in real life. Heretic girl in real life from Truzilla.
Rig said because she knows Thomas and Juan are gay.
Mm. I feel like I would know both those boys my whole life. Like, they're Florida boys. Like, I feel like I know, like, known them since we were kids. Like, I can see their kid face still. Jules is a little bit of a baddie. Oh, I forgot. Real Ride or Die has seen Jules in real life. IRL. I forgot.
Wow.
That's an Easter egg. When I wasn't trying to take her dress off, that was on air one night. That was one of these shows, though, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it was recently. It was like last week or the week before.
Oh, yeah. So it was one of the shows. If you're whatever channel you're watching us, we got in trouble on Project Chaney, and so we weren't there for 2 weeks. And so we put up episodes on the Secret Society of Good Guys YouTube. We are on Rumble now, and are on X. We are going to be a whole bunch of places because we know we're going to get in trouble very shortly on YouTube where they take the channels. So make sure you follow us everywhere else because we do go live every single Friday night and most Sunday nights. And it doesn't matter. We are going live on one of the channels. So
You'll just
make
have
sure
to
you like
find
and
us if you're not.
subscribe all of
Yeah.
them. Or if you only like and subscribe on one, there's shows that you're missing out on. And they could have Donut on them or Ben Balderson on them, Paranoid American, Gordy, maybe with an owl mask on, Layla. If you're missing God Pill Angel tonight, she had to spend time with her mommy.
Yeah, it's a real holiday, even though I don't always see it that way.
It's cute. It's a cute day. Does it have some esoteric meaning? Doesn't it seem like we went through a whole fertility ritual?
Oh
We
God, yeah.
Yeah, like the whole entire time. And we do Easter and Super Bowls and all this thing that are fertility rituals. We do the Met Gala that has a whole garden theme. And now we're in Mother's
Beltane
Day.
and Beltane was on.
Beltane, yeah. So it's like, oh, Mother's Day. This is probably the last day. If you're not knocked by this day, then you're not going to have your kid in time for sacrifice.
Mm, for the
If
next Beltane.
sacrifice day would be 12/12/25. Because they usually, what is it? You're a Scorpio if you're a Valentine's baby. And so if you're a Sagittarius if you're a St. Patrick's Day baby. And then if you're an Easter baby, you're born in Christmas.
Makes sense.
So I think the original ritual was that they would all get pregnant around Easter to have their baby between the 22nd and the 25th for sacrifice. And if you had the rarer your baby that you would have, red hair, green eyes being the biggest rarity, the wealthier class of society maybe would buy that baby. Because I might be super loaded but not have kids of my own. You might be a really poor class and trying to feed other kids, but just had a kid. So I could purchase your baby to sacrifice because the
Okay,
gods didn't care if it came from me or not.
but I have a question though. Were your eyes green when you were a baby?
I think they were blue at first
So
and
are
then
mine.
turned green.
And so are, yeah, my kids who
Everyone.
have green eyes, they were all blue too. Yeah.
Even brown-eyed babies are blue when they're born.
Yeah, a lot of them are. Some of them are born brown, but like for the most
They're
part they're
still
all
like
blue.
blue behind there. Even
Yeah.
if they're still like baby eyes. I think it's so crazy too. This is where it's kind of a shame a little bit. I have more curiosity of baby, and I do think now at my age I would be a good mom. Like if I got pregnant now, I think now I get it. I don't think I would have been a good. I mean, they're like, "Oh, you would have been. You just are good when you have a kid." I just know things about myself that I've worked through that also think kids are so cool in a way that I never did. Like, I just think it's such a wow factor that you grew this thing inside you and then it comes out and then it only knows your voice and smell. Like it can't see you. It only like its eyes are blurry that it only can see what's super close to it, which would only be a mommy or a daddy. So
Yep.
the only things it knows it sees really close. Like all the things about a baby and how we're born like blow my mind, but I felt like I never got it before. Like it just sunk in the last two, or maybe me being close to death made birth that much more beautiful. Like,
I would say though it's such a sink or swim thing. You fucking learn on the job. Like I was not a good mom to my first child. I was learning. Second child, I did a little bit better. By the time I got to the third, I was pretty good at it.
but doesn't it
So,
seem like it's a bell, like almost you're like, okay, I learned how to do all these things by the third child. You're almost like a certain amount of strict. And then at the last children, you're like, I didn't need to be so strict. And there's
oh my
so many
god,
less rules for
yes.
the last kids.
It's so true. And I like the I don't know, my son was like running on the couch, jumping on the coffee table last night. And my daughter is like, "Do you see what he's doing, mom?" And I'm like, "I'm not even paying attention to it." And I'm like, "Yeah, what about it?" She's like, "I can't believe you're letting him do that." And I look at her and I go, "You think you didn't do that all the time? Why do you think I'm able to sit here and not even pay attention to it? Like, I'm
You're like,
desensitized."
I'm immune because of you.
Yeah, yeah. She's like, "Well, yeah, well, it's your
And I
fault."
just watching my mom and dad's with little boys different than because I almost grew up with little girls growing up only, like exclusively. And then I knew my kid brother, but then I didn't see little boys growing up for decades. And then now I feel like a lot of my lady friends have little boys and it's just such a different, like my good moms and dads with the boys, they're like, I let them run it out. I let them rough it out. They're a little like, don't hit her. don't, she's gonna cry about it. They're like, the boys can take a little more bumps and stuff without the tears involved. So like they're like, she'll just cry just to see if we're paying attention. Like they know these little things about their daughters that I'm like, what? It makes me laugh when I hear parents, they'll be like, don't look at her right now. This is all an act. And or when a little kid will fall, like with the boys, I realize they'll like eat shit where you're like, God damn. Like I'm like, and they're like, yay. All the moms will be like, yay. And the little kid will get up and it's fine and just keep running again. And I'm like, what just happened? And they're like, the boys, if we get excited when they fall, they just keep running. But the girls, you have to pay attention to. If everybody just moves on, their like feelings are hurt. And I'm like, what?
Well, see, I had a different philosophy because I was like, I don't know, I don't want to do the whole yay thing because I felt like that might cause issues down the road with like thrill seeking. So I was like, so my
You were
kids
like,
would
you're not going to be jumping out of planes. We're not doing
exactly.
that.
So my kid would fall and get hurt or hit their head really hard, and I wouldn't do anything. I would just sit there and I'd watch. And so everybody thinks I'm cold as fuck now because I do this if any traumatic event, like I will look like my kid could have just got a concussion and I'm just sitting there and I look fucking stone cold, like it's not a big deal. But it's because I'm gonna sit and watch and make sure everything is fine. And then if a baby, like a baby will always cry if they're hurt. And if you don't pay attention to it, if they didn't actually get hurt and it just like kind of startled them, then they won't ever cry. And I did it with all my kids. So, like, I would get pissed if somebody go, because every time you do that noise, it makes them cry.
Yeah,
So,
that's what I realized. It's like
yeah,
the attention on it where they're like, "Oh," and this is the other thing too. Sometimes kids, it could just be a little thing. Stop running, the parent saying, "Stop running. Stop running." And then the kid eats shit. Now the kid is unsure if it's going to get in trouble. So it's like sometimes the fall, it doesn't hurt. It just already got told twice not to
yep.
run. And now it's like, am I about to get
Oh,
in trouble?
it's like Ralphie on A Christmas Story. Like, he's crying
Yeah.
because he knows he's
Yeah,
gonna get in trouble.
that exact.
He'll shoot your eye out.
I don't
Oh
know.
shit! What
Moms
for
are
the
pretty
tears?
crazy. I think about, I was like, there's that movie. I was thinking about like famous moms and famous things. And I think what for nostalgia moms for me, and this is nothing like my mom, but for me, when I was like, who is like the TV mom, movie mom, something, and it's Roseanne.
I love Roseanne. Yeah, actually, I couldn't think of any when you were saying that, and it is Roseanne. She's
It's
so
like
fucking funny.
the who is the mom if you're going to make a like hierarchy of famous moms, who is a hierarchy over Roseanne in the pyramid of who raised our generation? Is there a more famous mom? I don't
No,
know.
because
And
you
it's a
don't really
kind of a
remember
weird
the
one.
moms. It is weird because she was so unconventional, but that's what I liked about it. I think, like, I don't know. Did you ever watch Gilmore Girls?
And enough. I had friends in college
Yeah,
that
I didn't watch it when I was younger. Like, my daughters got into it, so I watched it, and I liked the unconventionalness of the mother-daughter relationship in that too.
yeah. I didn't it took me forever in my life to realize, "Oh, that's Melissa McCarthy."
Oh yeah, I know. Melissa McCarthy in there?
And here's how Hollywood. Do you know Melissa McCarthy is related to Jenny McCarthy?
No.
They're like cousins. I think they're both from like
Wow.
Chicago, Illinois. It's weird Chicago came up tonight
What a
when you were
trip.
talking about the book, whatever that book
Oh yeah,
was.
the Urantia book.
Yeah, your rancha is from. I don't know. What else is going on? What else is Mother's Day? I was also thinking about that. It's like I Am Mother, and it's a robot that in like a future world that these robots just raise these kids. And so this little girl's like raised by this robot. And I was
That-
thinking, how weird, like that computerized womb. Because look at how the world is. We can say the propaganda in the world that we live in, and I don't know about every culture, but I'll just speak for the United States. They have ripped the father out of since I was a child. I could see it happen. It's done. They ripped the father out of the household. And it was like like a country pretty much raised by single moms, and then like by moms that kind of had to work too the whole time. There's exceptions to all these rules, but look at how everything slipped in how quick of a time without the dads, and now they're gonna take the moms too.
Well, that's kinda like taking it back to modern day slavery, right? Like, where we kinda were talking about that Friday, about how that's technically what this is now. So, that's what happened with like slavery back in the 1800s. They took the dad out of the equation, right? And then the moms worked all the time. So it's easier to make a slave that way,
Yeah,
or
take the if
to
you
program your slaves.
and that's kind of like getting the women out of the house, and so getting the kids into the Rockefeller education younger and younger and younger.
Hmm.
And then if you were a smart kid, they made you take a test, and so you even went to school younger than your counterparts.
Oh
Like you
yeah,
started so you had a couple of those kids that they were like 1 year younger than everybody else. And then if
yeah,
you were a smart kid, they also peeled you out of classes and put you in whole different classes. But now I think of those classes and I was like, they were all setting you up for college. They were all setting you up for this. Those are the same bullshit IQ tests. You're just the kid that regurgitates the wrong answer better. Like you're the kid that doesn't ask the questions. You're the kid that just you get the A because no matter what, you put down the information they want you to put down, and that's how you get into the higher spots of the universities, and that's how you have less empathy because you're more worried about that A. That's how they get you to make doctors. Like all the worst people in our society, you have to get higher degrees to become those people, and it should let us know the people that are most cut off from us because they're the ones that are taking the wrong information in just for the A of being the regurgitator, not ever the thinker. But we were told this idea of IQ tests, which really is like 1/100th of what it really would be a competent human. I don't
yeah.
know. It's a fucked up society.
Well, the whole idea of the robot mom thing, what did that make me think of? I had this thought. Oh, so then going back into the whole, like, who would thrive in that condition? Who would thrive in that condition would be autism.
Yeah. And then look at what they're
So
turning us
so then
into.
we have the whole, thing we can't talk about and that we got in trouble for,
Yeah.
and all those things, like, so maybe there is an agenda to cause this
And
if
look at
we're going
anyone
to
who
the
will tell
artificial womb.
you if they've played with ChatGPT, if they played with Gronk, if they played with Genesis, any of these things, anyone will tell you that you have to speak to it like it's an autistic person and you can get it to do whatever you want. But you have to talk to it with like lack of emotion and in that way that it's like even we're like, look at we're training the computer. No, it's training you.
Yeah,
It's training you. We're not teaching it how to see a hydrant. It's putting hydrants in there. And when you pick that one, they're like, yes, this one will work for all the humans. This is what they believe a hydrant looks like. Like, that's what I feel like all of it is. All of us were like, oh, look at you just have to talk to it like this and talk to it like this. And nope, you're telling it exactly how to talk to you next time.
exactly.
Autistic mother. Mother. That's why they want Matrix so bad. That's the whole I think it's so funny that Matrix means womb or mother, and the two guys who are force feeding this into our Matrix are transgender. And so the thing that we keep saying over and over again is break the matrix, break the matrix, break the matrix, which is just saying break the mother,
Mm,
break the womb. And that's what they're
and that's
doing.
the spell. Just saying it,
Mhm. Two dudes
break
are
out the
trying to
matrix.
convince you that you want to be in a computer womb or that you're already there. That is literally the goal of those movies. Either that you want to be or that you already are. And look at how many people that like to think of themselves as so deep when they think of the simulation theory, but the only reason that's there is because of those movies.
Yeah.
It's the
Or
only reason it's a theory. And then people will be like, well, if you change the words an old thing with computer tech, well, if you change, you know, Tesla into Chariot of Fire, we could just go on and on until the cows come home.
but back before simulation theory began, like, I don't know. I wasn't familiar with an actual somebody saying simulation theory. I just started coming to that conclusion. But for me, it was because I used to love to play The Sims. I loved that game.
When do you
Did
think
you
it
ever?
came out? And when do you think The Matrix came out?
Yeah, they were all similar times. I know. I'm just saying, like, it wasn't.
Similar.
Yeah, similar simulation.
Yeah, they were giving us all the little same avatars and all the little I even think it's funny that they're like, here's all this circle. Here's the circle smiley face. Here's the circle smile because that's what they always want us to go back to. That's the rendering part of our brains. Where I think if you want to say the universe before you is a malleable universe, I can get down with that. But if you want to say the universe before you is somehow a computer like this, but only smarter than this computer, and it's making this computer simulate, it doesn't need the word computer in front of it at all. I
Mm-mm.
just think our brains can only conceptualize this. And so we are like, as
Yeah.
above, so below. That's not what it means.
No, I think that that's just the easiest way to, like, because we are now more technology, we have a lot more technology natives. Um, it's the easiest thing to relate to, just like them calling chariots of fire, and chariots of fire could have been freaking airplanes back when or whatever, like it's the
Yeah.
same idea. It's like now we have a different lens to see things through, and we all understand a little bit about binary code and bytes and bits and simulation or AI
But this is
graphics.
it. Look at this is where it's like binary code. They taught us this, holes and poles. They taught us this to be
Yeah,
the language that we think we all understand now. They
yeah.
taught us it. We're not inventing anything out of it. They taught us the binary code, which you're telling me, even in the words of the binary code, that it's something that is binded. When the idea of quantum is that something exists between the hole and the pole. There's an
That
absence of
everything
space.
exists. That
And
it all
so,
exists.
yeah, and so even the idea of the simulation theory needs to include all these other words and concepts to even make it have one iota of a grasp of truth.
Yeah.
Like, because they even think of this in a really common sense way. When we were growing up running around outside, think of how much power the simulation would need to do that compared to us all sitting in our houses doing this. Think of how much more power everyone looking up at the sky takes for it to render than all of us just sitting doing this. And so I'm like, are we simulating backward? If it was a simulation, why aren't my legs falling off and me like they could do anything with it? Why are we like this slow drip of things like why? Wouldn't it be easier to break the matrix by just let's turn the sky fluorescent green tomorrow? But they're like, "Oh, we did the northern lights that you could see all the way in the southern hemisphere, but you could only really see it if your phone was pointed at it."
Right?
What? Are we all playing now? That is literally Pokemon Go.
I know.
You are pointing your phone at something and you're seeing a Schnarzard on your screen and you're going to walk forward because you really think it's there. That's what's
Schnarzard.
happening now is that people are like, "Oh, I couldn't see the northern lights, but when I pointed my camera at the sky, I could see it."
Yeah.
That
Well, it's like we
do
could
you
see
think the
pink though. I will say
Schnarzard's
that,
real?
but yeah.
Yeah, some people saw it with their real eyes, but a lot of people didn't. And then I'm
No,
like,
the
your
phone made it look
phone
way better, I'll tell you that.
yes, and so then it's like if
So
all of
then
a
I'm like,
sudden
is it an update or what the fuck? That's all. Yeah, my brain went there for sure.
it's just like at what point are people going to be holding their and they're like, "Get Google glasses and get this thing." So now I have lenses here so I see a Schnarzard, and then I'm like, "Oh my gosh, it's really in front of me." Like, is that what will we all need goggles and our phones for Bluebeam to actually work? Will we all need to go get your Eclipse goggles and make sure you have your cell phone charged. Otherwise, you're not going to, and we have to have our TVs on so I can see your video of your phone in another state and then I can be scared of it. Like, how much working parts are we really going to need for this to go off? For this matrix theory to go off?
Period. That's friggin' It's funny because I've been thinking about those stinking eclipse glasses too. It was all so weird. All this is weird. Like you couldn't
You know
see
what
this
else they
without
did
this.
to
You
our
couldn't see that
moms?
without that. Hmm.
They yeah, we aren't allowed to talk about any of the things they've done to all of us without getting a ding on our channel. But you know the prenatal medicine they gave all of our mothers and the amount of atrocities that happened to those women and their children. They had blind kids. They had kids that at the time the medical terminology for the kid was mongoloid. They had kids that were like the amount of injuries that happened to these mothers, even the amount of quote unquote hermaphrodites that were happening back then because of all the prenatal stuff that was going on to these moms. And nurses will tell you now, oh, we were killing babies on accident because doctors were telling us it was the good thing to do. And this is in the 70s, but as far back as you can go, I pretty much, if I just don't, if there's a snake crawling up that pole, I just don't know how you can think that is a good don't go in that box. No, I'm just
I
kidding.
know. I literally tried to not have my last one. I wanted to have my last one at home on accident. So
I just
I
don't
was going to.
understand how if you are a healthy woman and you can, why you wouldn't have your baby at home. And then I will just tell you, this is what I think is I think it's amazing and I think it's rock starry and everything about a woman pulling out her own child is like, wow, what a warrior. But just in my head, I think it's so special when a guy is in the tub with his wife and she's giving birth. Like, it touches my heart. Like, that is the sexiest I ever think a dude is. When he is, like, in it to win it with all of the thing in that moment when he's, like, really a part of it and not just, like, taking scissors from a doctor and cutting the most important chemical off the baby and handing them back. But if he's not just doing that and taking part in his birth, I just think it's so great. It's so special. I'm like, gosh, look, and like him with her, like him getting to see like what a warrior she is and him getting to see how soft he is. I'm like, I can't. It touches my heart so much.
And actually the water birth would be because some men get traumatized by seeing their wives' vaginas stretch that far. So that actually wouldn't be a bad thing.
Yeah, but that also could be something that our society is really uber broken. That like it's so gross, like ladies talking about periods, so gross. Oh my god, their vaginas, oh ovaries. It's like that the idea that we all haven't seen women give birth by a certain age is ludicrous.
Yeah, they made us all watch The Miracle of Life or whatever. Is that what it's called? Where you watch the lady from the 70s like pushing out a baby. We all had to watch
You
it in
should
10th
at
grade.
least, as an adult, if you haven't seen an animal give birth, if you haven't gone to a barn and seen a cow give birth, seen a horse give birth, seen a sheep give birth, seen humans give birth, what are you doing? Like, I've seen people give birth. I've seen people leave this world and come into this world. I feel like take part. Even if, okay, you have no one around you giving birth, you don't know anyone with a farm, you never seen kittens give birth or a dog. There is so many people out there that I feel like have no connection to life.
Probably.
Or they're in a waiting room in a hospital and they're like, "Oh, your kid's born. You can come in now." What?
I still find it wild that women got knocked out in like the 40s and stuff. Or what? Yeah, the 40s. They got knocked completely out and then just had a baby later.
Rig said, "I don't want to see my son's face coming out of my wife's vagina." Well, it would be one thing if it was your grown son's face. Good thing no one looks like their baby face coming out of a vagina. So it won't even look the
Absolutely.
same. It won't look the same at all.
No. And you probably aren't going to see the face because they're usually born face down.
I know
Unless,
that's what I'm going to give my mom for Mother's Day is a superimposed of my actual face now coming out of her vagina. I'm
oh
gonna
my
be
God,
like,
I'd love to see
would
her
this have
face.
been weird?
Oh,
Do
how
you
would your
think
mom
this
actually take
moment made
that?
me gay, Ma? Do you think this moment made me gay?
Do you wish you would have had a C-section now?
Yeah, I know. Trauma. She's like, I don't know about any of my births, but I think my middle child, I definitely should have had a C-section on. She's a lesbian.
Oh, shit.
Oh, that is funny. I also like to think too that like I was in my womb after my sister, but before my brother. Like I have this attachment to her and him different than they have. They're becoming friends like the older we get in life, but I've felt friends with both of them for like my whole life.
There's something nice to being the middle child there, though.
Yeah. My mom was a middle child too.
I technically was, but we were like so far. Like my two older sisters were 10 years older than us, and then my stepsisters were like right, you know, I was in the middle, but it didn't really matter because at one point I was pretty much the oldest child too.
Oh my gosh, look at somebody came in late. But I just like it's called China because porcelain was invented in China. Thank you. That was still I like when they're just those kind of answers on the show.
Yeah, me too.
Good. Look at this too that Riggs said, a vagina with teeth. I shouldn't know this, but that's called a vagina dentata. It's actually the scariest thing in men's psychology is a vagina dentata. And the scariest thing to women is like a bulbous headed phallic thing. And so they say that like this is all psychology. That so they say the scariest monster ever on screen is the alien from Aliens because they actually
Oh yeah,
take a vagina with teeth and put it on a phallic bulbous head. So they say it scares women the equivalent that it scares men because it's both their deep-seated scariest fears. It's so
yeah.
weird
I
that I
think I
know
saw
that.
something about that. There's some kind of like show that breaks down horror movies, and I happened to see that episode, and I was like, "What the fuck? Like, how did I never know this? Like, it was supposed to look like a vagina."
A vagina with teeth. A vagina with teeth on the head of a penis. Nightmare. Like we all just had nightmares.
Yeah,
Out of things that we might like. Like we were, oh, that would be the worst version of that thing.
yuck.
Yeah, the alien monster. So, anyways, I guess that's moms, you're awesome out there. And
You are.
thank you just for all the hard work that you do. And maybe you don't have a mom around to tell you that they're proud of you anymore. And so we'll tell you that we're proud of you and thank you for being proud of us sometimes. That's probably
We
what
are
we're
proud
all
of
up
you.
to. We're all but
Yeah.
just probably trying to make our moms proud somewhere. Unless she's an asshole, then fuck that cunt.
Yeah.
Unless she's a big asshole. And then in which case I would never be friends with
Make
your
her
mom
extra
over
proud.
you.
Yeah.
Your mom would try to be friends with me after we broke up and I'd tell her to go suck it.
Oh, you're so cute.
We're not doing that around here. Be loyal to your kid.
Be a good mom.
Anyway. Look at Riggs is my son. Can you guys imagine if you found that out?
Oh my gosh.
Like, you guys, my son Riggs always comes in here and protects me.
Chaney.
I know. When I have my cult one day, I will just be called Ma.
You want to be called Mama Chaney?
No, just Ma.
Just
Because
Ma.
Pa would be too much. Instead of like, because you know, they're all the ashram names are
Yeah.
always like, they pick some Hindu, like, my name's
Rumi.
Patwa. Like, this is my spiritual name. My slave name is Chaney. But my spiritual name is Sunshine Ruby. Like fucking some shit. But they do make you do that, which is
Like crystal
also
meth?
that's your drag name.
There you go. Yeah. Drag name.
Yeah, your drag king name, Crystal Meth. I can't kill you at the end of the stream. That would not be a good Mother's Day present.
My
I
abs just
kill
got a
the
little
only
workout.
mom on the secret society of good guys.
It's not a better way to
All
go.
right. We have
It'd
a
be
bomb
epic.
ass chat. Cozy Crone out there being a bomb ass mom. I don't know who else is a mom in the chat if I scroll through to even shout you guys out. But I see Cozy in there. I know she's out doing the hard mom things, making them sacrifices. Kudos. Kudos. I don't know what those kind of sacrifices would be like, and I'm well aware of that. And I don't know how I would have gone through the cancer thing with kids. I thought about it a few times while I was going through it. Like, I don't know how I would have done this with children, like at all. And I think of how many women I know that have had to have the same journey with kids. I'm like, shit.
Well, even having to deal with their emotions, that would have been hard. Like,
Oh
even
my
if they were
gosh.
older, because it's like, yeah, you still have to. And like going back to me and Layla talking about crying alone, it's like, that's why. It's like, because everybody else's emotions are like, if you have emotions as a mom, then you affect the whole house. So, like, you're better off to just do it alone.
That's why I think I would have been. I feel like my rage snaps that I've gotten so much better, they would have been the trauma of my kid. Like sometimes I think about a dog that I don't have anymore. He just brought out the worst in me. Ernie, rest in peace, Ernie. He just brought out the worst in me. And I think if he was my first child, I'm like, gosh, that
Oh,
kid
I
would have had
yelled at
trauma.
my first child, and God bless him, he still likes me. So,
God bless him.
I'm saying, yeah, there. If I didn't believe there was a God, I definitely know there is one, because he should not like me.
If we were gonna Aleister Crowley it though, for real, like and think mirror with the whole thing, like upside down and backward in the way that something has real power, the word mom means wow. That's what
That's a
I think
really
about
good.
it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. A really good place to end on the mom episode. Really.
Episode. You guys, for real,
Wow.
thank you for hanging out. We will be around Friday, and who knows what will be going on. Who knows what the show will be, but we will definitely be around on all the channels. So thank you guys wherever you joined us at. And this was impromptu. And I know, sorry, guy who left with the piece, there wasn't enough conspiracy. There wasn't enough manly pee hall tonight. It was just
It's
womanly
Sunday.
pee hall. It was womanly pee hall tonight. So I'm sorry it wasn't gay enough for you. There was no Pythagoras talk. We didn't talk about a bunch of men in robes tonight. I'm sorry it wasn't gay enough for you.
No
No P. Diddy
homunculus.
talk.
We're talking
No
about children created in the
homunculus.
actual womb.
I know it does seem like a lot of the conspiracy talk is very homoerotic stuff, and this was a very heterosexual mom up show. So sorry, guy, that we lost your sub tonight. Peace.
I hope you find a better channel for you.
Bye bye.
You ever wonder if maybe Kennedy wasn't shot at all? Some theories claim that Kennedy had unprecedented access to the FBI, CIA, and Vatican archives, all thanks to him being the first Catholic president of the United States and all. During a moment of deep contemplation on a Friday afternoon in Dallas, Texas, Kennedy reached total enlightenment, causing his pineal gland to explode. But if you ask this skeptic, it wasn't enlightenment that this president was trying to achieve.
Britney Spears, can we be saved? God, why is Satan controlling the universe?
Used to think we knew was constantly exploring all possibilities come true. So what we do is call out to the good guys. Good guys. Good guys. Good guys. Which is where us decorum meets a secretive society. Advent on philosophies, intentionally, magically good guys. Good guys, good guys. Good guys, bitches, weirdos, mischief making. It's okay to change your thinking. Good guys.
Bunnies. Hi. Okay, of course she's starving for the most attention because she's the youngest. Give me attention, please. Now, Sarah, you're very stuck up. And you're too cool for school, I get it. Jesus